Hello. It's time for my campaign update and town hall. Welcome. I'm trying to get a good place for you where we can chat. I'm in the middle of Zurich, and I want to, kind of leave it so that you can also see a little bit of the outside, but I'm not finding that magical spot. But I guess this is good enough, and maybe periodically I just let you have a look. Anyway, welcome. My name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki, and I am a candidate for President of the United States from the 2024 election. I have not conceded, and so I am still available. The Supreme Court has a lawsuit pending, and from me, and I hope to hear something from it soon. What else? If I don't, I will write another one. There are many things that are wrong with this country, and our election process is filled with fraud and manipulation done by the Democrats and Republicans, and it needs to stop. So, yeah. Anyway, welcome. So, campaign update. Well, it's going pretty good. I've been talking to some people and getting my voice out. I'm being heard, and I'm in Zurich advertising that my vote was not counted, so people are starting to learn about that there's a lot of corruption in the USA. And I'm getting it out to the people, to people in other countries, and therefore we can maybe hope for a change. Because inside our own country, we will never have change until the Democrats and Republicans, the guilty parties, are put in prison. It's unconstitutional and illegal, stealing votes. It's called taxation without representation. And that was the grounds for a revolution once, almost 250 years ago. So I don't know, Democrats and Republicans. I don't blame the country. I blame them, because they're the only ones who've been in power. And they're not giving up power, and they're corrupt. I understand power is great. It's nice. It's nice to have lots of money and lots of things and to manipulate things, but it's not what our country is supposed to be about. And the Democrats and Republicans, need to look in the mirror, and they need to come forward. It's enough. We know what you've done. There's going to be a change. I don't know when it's coming, but something's going to be coming soon. And it's a shame. I don't know how they can live with themselves. I really don't. I don't. But change is coming. I feel it. So I do call on the Supreme Court to act on my lawsuit, because it's an important one, and it will solve a lot of problems, not only in the election process, but in other issues. And it's time. I know it's a good one. It targets the right issues. So I need you to move forward. And then last week, I did a video on, what was it? I did a video on what's civilized behavior and what's not. And since I'm in Europe, I'm in Switzerland, so that's north of Italy. So Italy is where Rome is, and Rome is where the Pope is, and they're having the conclave right now. So it's a very opportune time for me to talk about what is civilized. So is it civilized to be a pedophile? And is it civilized to enable pedophiles to be pedophiles? And I'm going to already answer that, and the answer is no. It's not acceptable. So how this ring of Christians can keep going on and get the respect of adults is beyond my comprehension. Especially in the US, where, they have all these lists that they make, and there's like a place where you can go search to see if somebody is a child molester. But yet they go to church and they respect the church and they do all these things. So I'm really, the contradictions and the hypocrisy of it all is disgusting, and it's not civilized. Now, growing up, I was raised with the concept that you can't eat before you go to church, and you have to put on your best clothes and your best jewelry and makeup, and you go and you stand, sit, and kneel for an hour, and then you all leave. So at my churches, at Catholic churches, there's no like coffee hour or anything like that. And, nobody really wanted to know each other. That was my impression. So I did not have at all a good religious experience in the Catholic Church in Rochester or Pittsford area. And because I was not allowed to eat before, I had low iron, so oftentimes I would be in church, and going from kneeling to standing would be enough to, in the hot summer, to get me to faint. And I always wondered why I had to do these things. Why could I not eat something beforehand? But in Catholicism, you have to do, what your parents tell you to do, and that was what they told me to do. So they really wanted me to be half dead, I guess. I'm not sure. So, sorry, there's somebody walking by. Okay, so I have some visitors. I don't know. I can try to bring Ronnie on. Okay. So is that civilized? I'm going to say no. No, not at all. I mean, it was church rules over child's health. And this is unacceptable. And there are many other rules that are sort of do but don't ask. And it's, I just, Catholicism for sure, because that's my experience, is a female unfriendly religion. Women can't be priests. They can't be anyone in the church. They are not at all dominant. They are submissive. And that's not equality. So is that civilized? No. Does it make you civilized to get dressed up and put jewelry on? No. Does it make you civilized to put makeup on and curl your hair? No. So, what is civilized? Is it civilized to give money to the poor? Probably. Is it civilized to help a child who's having trouble? Yes, that's civilized. Okay, I have another one who might want to come online. Let's see. Someone named Jose. I'm trying to add you. Maybe not. Okay. So anyways, I can only speak for the Catholic Church. Hello? Jose? Hello? Is someone there? Okay, so I don't know what happened there. Let's see if anybody else wants to join in. Okay. Syed? No. All right. So civilized, this is an issue. Is it civilized to leave sidewalks broken so that blind people can't use them? Or people in wheelchair can't use them? Is that civilized? So let me try to bring Jose on again. I think. Okay, let me see if Ronnie wants to join me. Hi, Ronnie. I'm trying to add you. If you want to pop on. So who's here? Is this Ronnie?
Yes, I'm not fully wait, I had to get myself together. How you doing, Susan?
I'm okay, Ron. How are you?
Good. Tomorrow will make 4 years that me and Tamar's been married.
Oh, congratulations. That's
We
great news.
Yeah, we got married here, so it's our fourth anniversary.
That's
So
wonderful.
what's this town hall about?
Civilized. What's
Civilized.
the meaning of civilized?
Oh, yeah,
So
heard you say.
I've
I heard.
been, this time I'm talking a little bit about religion and
Okay.
what parts of religion are civilized and what parts aren't. And I picked religion because, I'm in Switzerland right
Oh,
now, and
okay.
just south of Switzerland is Rome, and that's where the conclave is happening.
Right.
So I thought it would be a good idea to talk about Christianity and the misconceptions about what is civilized behavior and what is not. And maybe you could have some sort of input on that.
Oh, sure. You know some of my life's experiences. Uh, okay. It in terms of religion, um, that's not one of my subjects to discuss because You know, my wife is Hebrew Israelite. I'm a Christian. So we just don't discuss religion. But I grew up in the church and I went to Catholic school. And the Catholic school, um, it was kind of segregated because I lived in I lived in a community that was just getting ready to start turning and flip. So, I noticed that it was a lot of peace and love and harmony in the Catholic Church, and within the order of the nuns and the priests and everybody.
Yeah, they
And
treated you well, the nuns?
well, I had one experience with an ignorant nun. She asked me why was my hand black on one side and white on the other, and all the kids started laughing. And that's something that I always remembered, you know. So I came back with a comeback. I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, how come if you get slapped, you'll have a red spot on this side, but not on the other side?" And they threw me out of the school. I just said, if I slapped you, I said, if you get slapped, why would it be
Mm-hmm.
red on this side? And I said,
Right.
as I was going out, I said, this is the way God made me. I'm dark skinned. I'm a dark skinned black man, for anybody that don't know. And it's natural that my skin has, like, dark on one side and not white, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
That's natural. Whereas for a white person, it's the same on both sides. And
At,
yeah.
at your
Huh?
school, was it just was it a mixed school, or was it mostly white kids,
Uh,
or how did that work?
in the fifth grade, I was the only black kid in my class.
When that question was asked?
Right? No,
Okay.
that question was asked in the sixth grade. Sister Mary Angelita, I will never forget her name. And in the sixth grade, it was two of us. And I think it was about maybe whatever the population of school was. I think it was only maybe about 10 people that looked like me in the whole school. And of
Okay.
course, you know, I grew up in those 60s, and it was like some turbulent times. But, I remember that uh, the neighborhood that I lived in was quiet and peaceful. And
Right.
when I went back, I was like, wow, I will not go to Philadelphia at night if I don't have to. But where I live now is quiet and peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And, people are civilized. You take your trash out, clean your yard, say hello to your neighbors. And if you live civilized, you will think civilized. Okay, so Susan, you know where I came from, and I have to talk about this. I can't not talk about it. I spent 37 years in prison, innocent,
Mm-hmm.
in New Jersey, and I am still seeking my exoneration. And it may be close because the governor's leaving in 7 months. I've been making a lot of noise, and I've been speaking out, but not just for myself, but for other people in the same situation. And uh, last year, I was asked I was asked about the warden in the prison, and
Mm-hmm.
I told them that I had to be careful. So I'm revealing this live, so it's no secret. I told them that I had to be careful uh, because I am also a Camp Lejeune Marine veteran,
Oh,
and I'm a part of the Camp Lejeune, uh, you know, water
issues.
contamination
Mm-hmm.
issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a couple days ago, the article came out on NJ.com about the water. I think matter of fact, I did send it to you. You might not got a chance to read it, but you can look at some of the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows like the corroding of the pipes and whatnot. And
Okay.
so I said, okay, I would take part in the piece, and I joined the environmentalists. So the article came out 2 days ago, and so now I'm thinking, well, this is like this is like a big deal because you know they have been turning and looking the other way from this problem, where the people who live there have to drink that water for years and years,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to bathe or shower with that water, and they knew that that water was bad, that it was contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
Officers were allowed to bring in their own personal water as long as they paid for it. And then it
Mm-hmm.
got to the point where officers get free water, paid for it out of the inmate, what they call the inmate trust fund, the inmate welfare fund, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of my friends have been coming home really sick, and a lot of officers have retired, and they are really, really sick. And it can only be linked back to the water, that I think. And like with Camp Lejeune, it took them 30 years from 1957 to 1987 to realize that there was a problem. That was 30 years. I'm sure somewhere along the line, the data will show that there was some complicits uh, within the people who wanted to keep that story quiet. So now we find out all of these years later that all of these Marines and family members and staff members from Camp Lejeune, uh, they got cancer. And a lot of them are not here today. And so now that I'm on the other side of the wall, I want to advocate for the people on the other side of the wall who must use that water to bathe in, and they have access now, access to bottled water. But sometimes access to it does not always mean you will have it. Just like the Supreme Court said that the Trump administration has to facilitate the return. The order should have left the word facilitate out and said that the Trump administration must return Garcia. And that's the same way with the water in New Jersey. You have access to it, but that does not mean that if you don't have any water in your cell because your commissary didn't come yet, or for whatever reason, and you need to drink, you have to drink the water in the prison. And a lot of poor people, especially, don't have access to the water like others. And
So what you're really saying is that our government is accepting the fact that it's okay to torture people, so U.S. citizens who are
yes,
supposedly protecting our country. It's
yes,
okay to torture them with bad water, and
right,
then it's okay to torture people in prison with bad water too, is what you're really saying.
right. And that is
This
uncivilized.
And that is uncivil. I would 100% agree with that. That is, I mean, and then we have even other people living in other places like Flint, Michigan,
Well, oh yeah, yeah.
where
All the
where
children that,
they're
yeah,
not
I
in
remember.
prison, they're not in military, and they're also being tortured with bad water.
I, I
So
remember that story, and if I remember, some officials were jailed because of that, weren't they?
I don't know all the details.
Okay.
I apparently there was a change in the water source,
Yes.
and They didn't finish the project or something, or they're missing a piece of cleaning material or
Yeah.
whatever. Something's not quite functioning properly, and instead of fixing it, they're ignoring it. And it
Right.
sounds like at this camp, what was it,
Camp
Lejeune?
Lejeune. Camp Lejeune.
Lejeune.
Right.
It sounds like they knew about it and they ignored it. And
Right.
now
And,
at the prisons, they know about it and they're ignoring it.
right.
And these are U.S. citizens, you know,
Right.
and some of them. I mean, the shocking part is in the military. These people are hired to take care of us, to defend our country and everything, and this is how we treat them. I
Hmm.
mean, this is not civilized at all.
Well,
So
that then, and, and today is different. Uh,
yeah,
but
when
no, I'm only talking about the war at Camp Lejeune. I'm not talking about the whole overall military because um, the military, they do what they're told to do. And, when we look at the military, we have to look at the top. We have to look at who's on the top.
yes,
And
yes.
unfortunately, we in a tough time right now. Uh, and we will get through this. Uh, Americans, we always get through stuff. People who thought they were the biggest and the baddest always eventually get taken down.
Well, we have a lot of people who have big egos who think that they're entitled to everything. And, if there's this hierarchy thing, and the higher up you are, you have supposedly more rights than others. And
Right.
this is not true. So, we got some ego problems, and and then we have just massive corruption everywhere, and
Ah,
it's unacceptable, and this is not civilized
yes.
at all. So
A
yeah, we got so
and
much uncivilized things going on. It's
a
terrible.
lot of this is based on evil. You know, um, you ever heard the saying, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you who you are." A lot of people are just evil, and they have like mean spirits, wishing harm on somebody else, or trying to be one up on somebody else out of just straight meanness. You know, people can look at situations in the news and they form an opinion, and whatever opinion that they form, if it's for the evil, if it's for the wrong, you can hear it and what they have to say. It's like a lot of people, like, oh, he was just kidding. Oh, he didn't mean it. They make excuses, but I still like him. He's my guy, you know. Um, and then when you look at the people he put, this, this was not serious administration. This is administration, and you can just look at who's at the top of all the levels. They represent a mindset, and none of them have independence of this guy. They do what he tell them to do, and then they back it up. They ask him, so will you enforce the Constitution? Well, I don't know. Whatever my lawyers tell me what the Constitution is, right? So we're in some bad times right now. These
Yeah, well, this has been going on though for, I mean, ever since I've been alive.
right.
And there's this whole bullying network that sadly I have to say it's has to do with men oftentimes with this hierarchy
Absolutely.
stuff,
Absolutely.
and then it's also deeply embedded in religion
Right.
and the churches.
And
And,
race,
go ahead.
and race, definitely race. You know, uh,
Yes, well, there's a whole race thing going on too, which is also not at all acceptable. But I don't know. You know, I guess some of these people, they get through a certain part of it, and then they feel entitled to these other things,
mhm,
and then they step on the other guy because
right.
that's what they learned to do, and then they step on the other guy, and we have to stop that. We need an abrupt stop to all of this, and then we need to start fresh, because it's not at all acceptable how we treat each other. Period. How, everything from our government to our churches to our families to our communities,
right?
everybody's out to get each other, and it's terrible. And
So, what do you think about this DEI issue?
DEI, well, I think that it needed to be at one time. I don't think it needs to be around today. I
O-
think what is probably better is to hire people who are very qualified. And I think that corporations have freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So, or at least the owners do. So I think that for me, I don't think DEI is necessary anymore. And
Okay.
and I think it restricts uh, freedom of employers. What I do think is important is U.S. citizens should be offered all jobs first. Every
uh,
job that's available within the jurisdiction of the United States needs to be offered to at least 3 U.S. citizens first before they go to Europe and offer a job to a European.
Okay. Now, Susan, back to DEI, that you said that you felt that it was needed at one point and not now.
Yep.
It kind of reminds me, and I want to, get into that. It reminds me of "Make America Great," um, the slogan, and we know that this came from Ronald Reagan. Now, when I got locked up, Reagan was in the first term, so you can imagine way, way, way back, and it was co-opted by these people now, MAGA. And for somebody like me, I would ask the question, um, when was America great that we want to make it great again? When was it great for people who look like me? What, at what point? And, you know, when was America great for people who looks like me? Now,
Well, I
I,
have to go one step further
I,
because um, I know you have a darker skin than I do, but when was America great for women?
okay, right, again. I,
I think I might even have one more than you.
and
Uh, I
that's where
I know my skin color is different, but I'm a woman. I mean,
that's where
you don't get lower than that on the
oh
totem pole.
wait no, the lowest is a black, but DEI, uh when you say that you thought it was, you know needed at one point but not now, uh DEI is stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, meaning give everybody a chance. You don't have to. We're not saying affirmative action where you have to pick a certain amount of people to fill certain positions. DEI is just to open up the doors to allow a diverse community to have access to, again, the word access. If
Well,
you're locked out, so the biggest beneficiaries of DEI in the United States have been white women, and it
okay, what source do you have for that information? Because
Susan,
this is new news to me.
is it? I will send it to you today, Susan. Oh, you missed out. But what this administration did was they turned DEI into something bad. And a lot of people who hear DEI, they hear these buzzwords: DEI hire, a DEI this. Like you saying it in the back
Well,
end.
see, See, I don't see color really. You
But
know, when
but
I look at people
majority.
to work with, I work with a whole spectrum of people.
Okay.
And I think we're to this point. So making it mandatory, I think, is a bad idea because then
Okay.
it's not coming from the real good place. But I think what's better is to focus on U.S. citizens first.
Okay.
So that's why I say we hire U.S. citizens because you know what? There are lots of Europeans who are coming over and taking all the best jobs in the U.S. right now.
Hey, Susan,
And
I
that's
just
where the big problem is.
yeah,
So it would be better to put you into one of those jobs than to give it to a European.
right, right. I agree.
That's
I
where I am.
just pulled
That's where we need to
the article.
focus.
Okay, I just pulled up the article and I'm swiping out these texts that are coming left and right. Um, but anyway, this is from January 3rd, 31st, 2025.
Okay.
Now,
Who wrote it?
this is this is from Philly, WNC, Philly Women's Network Connection. Okay, that's January.
Okay.
Now I'm trying to pull it up to print it, or pull it up if I can send it via email. But uh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Oh, it's just buffering. It's not coming up. It's that's what I went to. But anyway, Susan, I was saying that DEI was turned into like code words that well, we had to give him this job is because he's black, or he got this job because he's black. Um, so he's firing generals from the military who had like 30-year histories, right? And trying to remove people from history books, or from museums because they represent DEI, Black History. Want to remove it because it represents DEI. So they put everything into the point of DEI and say that this is what it means. But DEI also includes the LGBT community, and it includes Hispanics, it includes women, it includes people who are historically excluded from opportunities. And they did these tests to show.
Do we need, aren't we adults? Don't we know? I mean, I think the real difference is between U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens, truthfully. I
Well,
think we
it doesn't
have
come down to that because
diversity. I think we have it.
we,
We have
sometimes
inclusion.
we treat non-U.S. citizens better depending on who the non-citizens are.
Exactly.
Okay,
And see,
so
I see all the gay, lesbian, and all of those categories, and whether you speak, whether you're a Hispanic background or you're, European or African, we're all U.S. citizens, and we
right.
have to start thinking about being U.S. citizens rather than our skin color or our language ability,
Well, we
and I
know
think
that.
that this we got to stop focusing on the differences, and
Well,
we
we know
have to
that.
start seeing ourselves as a unit.
Yeah. Well, we know that will never happen.
No, see, and that's, sorry, I'm wrong. I think you need to stop noticing the difference.
Well, see, it's something that you can't do. You can't you can't not notice the difference. And when you're a powerful person and you have these racist inclinations and ideology, you know, uh, that you can walk in a place and say, I don't want anybody to count my money who's not black, or you know, I don't want people cooking my food for me if they're not black. And this is how a lot of famous black people are. And it's the same behavior of famous white people who would say, I don't want anybody count my money unless they were Jewish and 50 and above and wore a yarmulke. Or want anybody to touch our
Well,
food unless they're a French cuisine. You know what I mean? You know, so you're in a position to do that.
there are some people. There are some people who are prejudiced. There are.
A lot of
But I'm
people,
going to say that the majority of the people are not. And
no,
I think we're to a point where we are working together. And I think that we, certainly in any administration I would have,
mhm.
there would be a good mixture of everyone. I
Well,
am
you see
friends
that the case
across the
now.
board.
You can see that
So
case now,
I am concerned about U.S. citizens
right?
of all shapes and sizes and genders and everything.
When we say
And
U.S.,
I think, we need to take care of our U.S. citizens.
Susan, I
So
agree, but when we say U.S. citizens, um, you know, U.S. citizens by birth, U.S. citizens because we're Americans, and then we compare to, I mean, let's get straight to the point. The illegals coming in here, you know, uh, and it's like turning us against illegal aliens because we should believe that they are the reasons why we're not being taken care of. It's because of them. It's because they're getting our jobs. It's
that's
because,
right.
right. And you know, people um, have that mindset that this is the reason that you know, you're in a situation, you're in the government can't help you because uh, you know, we had to give so much to people who are not U.S. citizens, those illegals, and
Yes, we
that's
need to
not,
change our
that's just not
whatever
true.
how we deal with illegal aliens. Do you know that somebody can come into our country and be living there on our system as an illegal alien or as a illegal person, and they can do that for a whole year almost, and but just before the end of that first year, then they can declare asylum.
Hmm.
Shouldn't they have declared asylum on the first day? I mean, when
Well,
you cross a border, shouldn't you say, I'm here for
well,
asylum?
well, you can have like a plethora of issues against uh, you know, the behaviors of what people do, illegals, uh, and I
No,
really,
this is on our books. This is what our government, this is what the Democrats and
yeah,
Republicans
right,
agreed that was okay to
right.
do. They agreed that we'll let people come in and stay almost a whole year and then let them decide to be asylum seekers. Somebody decided that. I,
Yeah.
I mean, it's stupid.
Well,
No other country does that.
well, you know,
I'm sorry.
as far as that particular issue is hard because it's been used to divide us. But we've had this immigration problem forever. I mean,
Well,
no,
the thing is, though, Ronnie, that you don't come in and you don't stay in a country for a whole year and then decide you want to stay for asylum.
oh yeah,
You declare
people
it on
want
the day
to,
one when you cross over the border. You say, "I am here seeking asylum."
yeah,
Period,
people want
and
to
then it
come.
starts.
People want to come here with you know, whatever people tell them how you need to do to get into America, being a poor migrant from wherever, and they may follow what people tell them to do, but their bottom line is they want to come to America, the land of the free, and they want to become American. I'm not talking about the gang members. I'm not talking about the people who come here with violence. And I'm not talking about the people who come here and then become violent. I'm talking about overall migrants who comes to the United States for a better living from where they came from. I'm talking about them. And you know, it seems that a lot of other groups have been able to get in, and now we want to shut the door where nobody else can get in, particularly from those poor and impoverished countries. Now, you heard what he said. You know, why can't we have immigrants coming from, you know, Poland and Scotland, and let those immigrants come in, you know, instead of the shit old countries, you know? And that's just a mindset that was made up to divide and conquer people. And a lot of people feel, even my grandson, they do not like what they call illegals. My grandson's 23 years old. He does not like uh, Mexicans or, or anybody who's Spanish, and he does not know the difference between Puerto Rican, just like a lot of people don't, Puerto Rican and whatever. But if they speak Spanish, his mindset is, well, all of my problems are because these illegals are taking away all of our jobs. These illegals are taking away all of our benefits. Well, we have other issues that we can and should focus on. And I would say, in terms of public safety, I would say in terms of opportunity for people. Like, there's a lot of people, they go to the streets because they can't get a job, and then there they live violence. But I was telling you about this article, and I just want to read a paragraph or two. It says diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives have become a major focal point in corporate America, educational institutions, and government programs. These initiatives aim to level the playing field for historically marginalized communities, ensuring fair treatment and equal opportunity. However, while DEI is designed to benefit all underrepresented groups, studies show that the primary beneficiaries have been white women. And
But there's no proof. But
well,
I mean,
well,
yeah, you have an
yeah,
article,
yeah,
but
yes, like, it's no proof that the water in the prison that's coming out bad is killing us. You know,
there's
uh,
probably proof there
well,
if you
right,
test the water.
this article right here says studies show that the primary beneficiaries have been white women, and that's yeah. I mean, you can Google this, Yahoo this, and you'll come up with the same thing.
Where I live in West Virginia, there's a lot of white women who are not benefiting at all.
Ah,
So it might depend on where you live. That
right,
could be.
right. It may
That could be.
where you
You
live,
know.
and in other parts of the country, there are a lot of uh, black women who are being, uh, left out. But one thing I have to say that I see, Susan, I went to court with a young girl a couple weeks ago, and when
Hmm.
I got in there, the judge was somebody I grew up with, and it was just a good feeling when I knew that I knew the judge, just because he looks like me. I never seen a black judge coming up, a black man judge coming up. It was rare, very, very rare. Um, I see a lot of police officers and a lot of corrections officers who look like me. I never saw that. So they benefited, or their families benefited, from affirmative action. And I would say that if, okay, you now have a generation later education, and you can make of yourself what you want to make of yourself. So I wouldn't need, personally, I wouldn't need some type of program to assist me to do what I know how to do. But some people do, Sue. And it's a variety of factors why they need that help, you
Well,
know.
I think most people, U.S. citizens, are, um, if they're sort of raised in a reasonable way, are
Hmm.
aware of the diversity and that it's better to be inclusive. The problem is religion.
Right.
That plays a big role. So there's even one of our Christian religions in the U.S., I think it's
Uh,
Mormonism. They don't accept. So they promote only white people. That's true.
right.
There's
Right.
extreme prejudice in that religion,
Right.
and it's Mormonism. So if God tells you that, I mean, I have a problem with religion,
Of God
and
knows you.
I don't think that religion is a civilized way of living.
Right.
And I think we need more of this DEI in life, but it shouldn't. doesn't necessarily have to be given by the government. It should be common sense. I mean,
Right.
DEI is common
Well,
sense. It's common sense to just treat each other equally and
and
fairly, right?
and when you're in a position of power to say that, uh, okay, I'm looking for the best qualified, but at least I want to consider other applicants. When that door is shut and closed, they can't even get to the consideration. It's because they don't, because the people in the power don't believe that this person is qualified. Like you know, you have one of the best um, doctors, one of the best heart doctors in the world is he was in Trump's previous administration, Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson. I read about him like, 40 years ago or 30 years ago, whenever the book came out, how his mom raised him and his brother. But he turned out to be one of the best surgeons in the world. And his ability pushed him way, 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 way to the top of the medical field because of his ability. But just imagine if he would have never got that chance to go to medical school and whatever.
But he did
No,
because of
because of his
programs that were in place at the time.
no, no,
And
because of his mother. His mother was a working black woman who wanted to see the best for her children and made them.
okay,
Um, but his mother pushed him, and his mother got him started. His talent carried him.
it's
Like sometimes
great.
I think about myself, Susan. Um, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I never had the chance to be a lawyer. I never had the chance to go to law school because of my environmental situation. But it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer, and when I saw this guy in court last week, look like me, you know, it was like an awesome feeling because I know that had I had the chance, that I would have made it to become a successful lawyer. I have a brain. I still had a brain. Nobody.
You are a lawyer.
Well,
You are a successful lawyer.
well,
I mean, not
it,
officially, but
it, yeah, unofficially, but
yeah. I
uh,
mean, you got 600 people off out of illegal prison sentences.
that's
So, I
that's
mean, that is
those are the ones.
something to be applauded. You
Yeah,
are
those are the ones that I'm representing. Those are the ones that I'm representing. 600 people who are seeking exoneration, but from the other side of the wall. But I'm also speaking out on behalf, at least 7,000 or 8,000 who are behind the wall, who are subjected to that bad water. And
yeah, I know.
this is
So,
not this is
what
not
you
about
should did you know what you should do? Write a letter
this is
to the White House.
uh
Tell them.
well, Susan, this is not about me. My time on this earth is like almost used up. This is about the people who's coming after me. This is where my
That's
heart.
right. So write a letter.
Yeah.
Write a letter to the White House, write a letter to the FBI so they can do the research.
Yeah. Well, this current White House, I have no faith in them at all. And
Well,
uh, the
you don't know until you try. Don't be your
well,
first no.
oh, oh no, it won't be. I've written thousands of letters. Literally, I've written thousands of letters to, everybody I could think of, and then even some that uh, were wacky. But I have written thousands of letters. Uh, in this current time now, I don't need to write a letter because I'm out here, and you are giving me the opportunity to speak and share. I don't know how many people watching our conversation now, but they will see my name and maybe come back to it later and say,
Hmm.
this is very interesting conversation. The dichotomy between a white woman from West Virginia and a black man from North Philly, and we could talk. I said from North Philly,
Hmm.
and you have visited our home, and it's like just a president. That's the big thing too. I got a big head. A presidential candidate, an official United States presidential candidate You are you're like highlighted my life. You know. Oh, I gotta look my phone.
Well, we're working together. We
Yeah.
want to make the U.S. a better place, and
Yes.
we're doing it in
And
our own way right now,
well,
and hopefully in the future we'll have even more
right,
opportunities.
right, and you know, but it's what we do now is what
Yes,
counts. You know,
absolutely.
we talk about the dash. You know, we talk about the year that you were born and the year that you die, and then you have the dash in the middle. And it's
That's
the
right.
dash that's the most important part of what you're seeing there on the back of a obituary, whatever somebody's legacy. It's that dash. It's what did you do while you were here? Uh,
That's right.
and if you haven't done anything of any significance, then you really die. But if you have done something of significance, then you will live forever because it's something good, or it could be something that people admire in somebody who's bad, you know.
Yeah, well, I
But
think for me, what I always say is always go to the good. If you have a
right,
choice
right,
between doing something right or something wrong, and we all know
do
what's right and wrong.
right.
So go to the good, go to the right, do the right thing.
Now
And
that
and
that's from a
whether
person.
it will bring you um, glory, it doesn't matter. It's just always the right thing to do the right thing.
Well, some
And
people
you know,
won't do the right thing if it would bring them pain. You know, if it will bring the, put a negative dent, but it's the right thing, but they don't want to do it for whatever reason. Like the guy couldn't answer the question yesterday, you know, who pays the tariffs? He couldn't answer the question because he was thinking, now, what would boss man want me to say? Oh, okay, I'll answer it for you. The people pay the tariffs. But it's the point that he did not want to admit anything that he didn't expect to see coming, and he didn't want to embarrass the boss. You see, the right thing to do would be to tell the right answer, but sometimes telling the right answer when you're in a
I
position
guess
of power.
you're referring to Donald Trump, I guess. Is that correct?
Well, not necessarily him.
Be-
I'm referring to the secretary that testified yesterday.
well, sometimes there are things called top secret information.
That's not
So there
top
are some
secret.
things
That's
that
not top secret.
maybe uh, we don't know as the public
Top
because it's not
secret
general
information.
knowledge.
Susan,
So just
did you follow the story with the defense secretary and his buddies on one of those chat lines talking about strikes that were getting ready to happen?
mhm.
Uh, talk about top secret. Look who all was on that call. Everybody who was on that call were high ranking, and they jeopardized so many Americans by having that conversation. But back to the guy that didn't want to answer the question yesterday, there was nothing top secret about that question. They asked the question, who pays the tariffs? And, they took up so much time with him not wanting to answer the question that in and of itself became the issue. you know,
So the real concept behind the tariff issue is that right now we got a lot of junk coming in. So what doesn't sell in China and what doesn't sell in Europe, they say, oh, the Americans will buy it, and then they send it over here. So by putting tariffs on that, that makes their products expensive, and then maybe a U.S. citizen will buy the U.S. product, which will be cheaper, as opposed to the European product that will be more expensive because of the tariffs. So that's the idea behind the tariff pricing.
I believe
So yes,
you.
so
I
if
believe
I'm a
that's the bottom
Swiss
line, but
person living in the US and I want a Swiss product, I will have to pay that tariff price. But if I'm a normal US citizen, I may want to buy that US product that's cheaper and support US ingenuity. So the tariffs are making products made in other countries more expensive. And trust me, they are sending their junk here. I've seen it. You get better quality things from China in Europe than you do in the USA.
I don't think that's what the intention of the tariffs is,
That is
but
the intention, and that's the effect they're going to have.
oh
You
no,
can buy the
the
European product
effect
if
it's
you really
going to
want.
have is the effect that it's going to have is having now, where you know, we are we're not in a
You there? No, I seem to have lost you. So anyways, the tariffs, this is how they work. They're going to make products from other countries more expensive, and I recommend that you buy US products because you'll be supporting your neighbor and supporting the US economy, and therefore you'll pay also less in taxes. But yeah, so we're really talking about civilized behavior. And it's not civilized to have other countries dump their things that didn't sell in their country in our country either. The other thing that concerns me with buying products from other nations is
oh, can
we
you hear
don't
me?
know.
Can you hear me
Uh,
now?
are you back? Yeah.
Okay.
So wait,
Okay.
I'm in the middle of a thing now. So we don't know. So we have regulations on what is good quality plastic and what is bad quality, and what is food quality plastic and what is bad quality. We don't know what these other countries have for their regulations. We don't know what kind of pesticides these other countries are using. And so therefore, you know, I really recommend anyways just buying US products because we know we're here. We know the regulations, we know the quality, we know the issues,
Well,
and
some
then we can support our own people.
well, some U.S. products, you know, they have to depend on the parts, or you know, the titanium or whatever they get from other countries. And so, in order to build U.S. products, as you say, uh, it's going to be more expensive because we can no longer get the flow of those pieces that we needed. Uh,
Technically, we have a big country with all the different minerals that are needed for most things. We actually don't need a lot of other countries
well,
to survive.
well,
We have, but what's happened in the past is we've been the shoppers of the world. That's why we have the biggest GDP, and because we buy everything. So what this is going to do is change things, and it's going to finally give the U.S. An opportunity to develop themselves. We're reversing the global society that we don't need. And
well,
what we should do is become more of a U.S. nation, and China should become more of a Chinese nation, and you know,
should be.
uh,
Know that is
Italy should be more of an Italy nation, and everybody should do their thing and become more of themselves and take care of their people.
okay. I think that the reason that I brought up the issue of the tariffs is because I know a lot of it is rooted in mean spiritedness, and as you know, as marginalized us. We no longer in the good standing world that we were 3 months ago.
Well, I'm sorry you think that,
Well,
but I
true.
disagree.
Well,
I
it's true.
disagree.
It's true because people all around the world are looking at America because of who our leader is. Our leader wants to now have a parade in his honor, like like the guy over in Korea, North Korea. He
I
wants to
never
go.
heard that.
Huh?
I
You
never
haven't?
heard that.
Okay. You gotta look up. He wants this to be done on his birthday. He wants. He wants to. You know. He wants to show his power and his might. and and it just, as they say, it just incidentally happened on the day of his birth, on his birthday. Oh yeah, you can look that one up too, Susan. Look that up. I'm not just making stuff up. I wouldn't do that. So this is what people are seeing from around the world, and they're not liking us because of that reason, and because of many reasons, right? Some of the things that America has forgiven, it's like a double standard. You know, that some of the things that America say, oh well, they make excuses. Oh, those 34 counts. It should have never. The prosecution should have never been brought. Oh, that story about that lady he allegedly uh did something to. We don't believe her. Why would she wait all of these years? And this is after the verdict comes in. Then he, slanders her again. And then it's like, okay, you got to pay more money. And there are people who can forgive all of those things, like his university. They can forgive all of those things. And that's what people around the world are looking at us. And, like I say, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, you know?
Well, Ronnie, I have a lawsuit pending.
Right,
The
right,
election process is illegal. So I cannot agree with you more that Donald Trump might not be our president.
uh,
And so,
right. Oh, yeah,
this is a fundamental problem with our going forward at all,
right,
is the fact that we have an illegal person in
right.
office right now. So
And
not all votes were counted. My vote was not counted, and I'm a U.S. citizen.
well,
So,
let,
yeah,
let me
whatever. I mean, on that
let,
side,
let,
we definitely agree.
let me enlighten you on something else. The story just came out yesterday, 2 days ago. I had to find it on my computer, but I listen to a lot of social media, then I read for myself. Is that the machines in this one part of the country could be manipulated into giving the majority of the votes to the person that they want to give it to. And
Exactly.
that does not surprise me.
Exactly.
That's why I didn't get any traction. But
So
I
we
I think that
have
I think that
in the
that
election,
election
we
was rigged.
can't. The country is all messed up because we have illegal people in office.
Right. I think that, but then when we say illegal people in office, let's make sure we distinguish between the ones that are identified as illegals and the ones who have illegally seized power. And, I think that the truth will come out. It might take some time, but the truth will come out. But the biggest and the saddest part will be about all the people who fell for it. And they knew, but they fell for it anyway. And they fell for it because of some mean spiritedness, like now it's our turn. Like we're getting our country back. And then I look at all the thousands of people who lost their jobs uh, because of these so-called Doge cuts, right? So within a week of taking office, you supposedly found billions of dollars in fraud. No, what they do is they throw the story out there and say all of this fraud, and then this is what we're gonna do about it, but not showing any evidence to prove all of that fraud. And meanwhile, as
Well,
you say,
I think
on some
but to prove the fraud, they're going to have to go to court, right?
right, but first
So
you have to
I
have
think
evidence. First,
we're not done with that at all. That's just the
yeah,
beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg.
yeah, but
So I think what I notice with what you're saying a lot of times is you don't like what the actions that are being done individually, but I think you're not looking at the bigger picture of what might be coming.
well,
So
I think the
I
bigger
think that
and
there's a lot of changes going
I
on, and it looks
think what's
messy
coming
right now.
is
I
worse.
agree, it looks messy,
I think
but give
what's
it time.
coming. I think what's coming is going to get worse, and we can see the evidence on the wall where he dismantled this whole structure of the judiciary. You want to start impeaching judges who rules against him, and it's like,
Did he impeach
I think.
anybody yet?
Oh no. They put somebody up today for him. But
Did
no,
they?
he's
Okay.
only been in office like 3-4 months. But we can see what's coming. And
Okay.
I don't see anything gloomy on the horizon. I see doom on the
Well,
horizon. And then
and see, I think
by
you're
the
not
time
understanding everything
and,
because he's only the president and Congress has a lot of power. So
and right now,
he can say all he wants, but
yeah, but
Congress has to do the other part.
he has each of those individually terrified of going against him. And that's why they can't do town halls. They go to a town hall and they know that when the midterms come, they're going to try to have to do something to make good at home, but they can't go to the town halls because they're afraid and that they have to toe the line for this mean spirited agenda, whatever he said, and then they go try to make excuses, because they are terrified individually. And I would say that they're paid. They're being paid to do what if you got the money, you can pay them. Listen, this is your payment. I'm going to give you so many dollars per month for your personal slush fund. You do what I tell you to do because that money is there. And then a lot of that money is like money siphoned from the government. But the point is, however it's done, people have lost their fucking minds. I'm sorry to say it like that. I'm sorry. That
Well,
came
the point is, I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court because
talking about.
everyone in office is illegally
Look,
there. It's all been fraud and manipulation getting them in. And
look
we
who
cannot go forward as a good country until we have the right people in office.
look who
And that's
and,
where the big problem is.
and
So we can talk about the symptoms because that's really what you're talking about. We got to talk about the problem,
I'm not talking
and it's
about.
corruption.
I'm not talking about just the symptoms, but your lawsuit. Look how long it's taken, and look who's in the Supreme Court. I have no confidence in the Supreme Court anytime that they say this guy can get immunity for whatever.
Well, and I'm not ready to talk about what comes if the Supreme Court doesn't act, but we do have to do something because we have been illegally taken over by the Democrats and Republicans, and they're corrupt, and they've been manipulating us for decades, and it's time to stop. So,
Oh,
and on that note, Ronnie, I have to go. I have to get off. I think,
it's good seeing you, Susan. It's
yeah,
good seeing
I don't see you. I don't know why I don't
you. Yeah,
see
I
you,
have
but
a camera on it. I can see myself, and I can
okay.
see you. Can
I don't see you at all. So,
oh, okay.
if I
I
look
don't know
funny
how.
sometimes, it's because I'm not seeing you.
Oh, wait a
I
minute.
just see
Hold
a
it.
dark
Now
screen.
I turned the camera around. Now, how about your camera? Maybe your camera is turned off where you can't see me
Well,
because
it could be that because I'm recording it,
okay.
that maybe
Well,
this.
Facebook
Although you
recording.
appeared on other times, so no,
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
why.
Facebook is recording it too, so it'll be out there forever. Well, our conversation will be out there forever.
Yes.
Uh, anyway, Susan, it's good seeing you again. Good talking to you.
Yeah,
One of
nice.
my
I didn't see
one.
you, but it's nice to talk to you, Ronnie.
Okay,
And
one of
say
my
hi to
bud, one
Tamar.
of okay, one of my buddies, Eddie Casco. He spent time in prison for whatever type of offenses, and he's a
Mhm.
U.S. Sergeant Army veteran. He was deported back, and he's trying to get all that straightened out. But he's listening from South America. I just want to say, hey, Sergeant Eddie, that's my buddy. We're in the veterans group together. So,
Okay.
Susan, again, it's good to see you. And the next time you're on the East Coast in the United States, you know where we live at, and you're always welcome. All right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ronnie.
All right,
Have a
Mama.
good
You
day.
too.
Until next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right. So there we go. I did want to say that Walmart is one of our big uh, it's the biggest company, I believe, on the planet right now, making the most money. And this was one of their things that they were selling about a month ago. So I'm wearing it to show what is fashion in the USA. All right, so there were some other people who I tried to bring on, but I couldn't. And anyway, you know, we got a mess. You heard a lot about it just there. We are, I think, going forward, or under my administration, we would be going forward. But I do think that some of the changes that Donald Trump is doing is okay. I agree with, and it's a good mess. So if something were to happen and I could be at the helm, I have some ideas about a lot of the issues that he's been dealing with. And truthfully, what I guess, the civilized thing to do is support your local people, support your neighbors, and buy local, buy U.S. products if you're living in the U.S. If you're living in places like Pakistan, then buy your Pakistani products and support your neighbors. And, we do have to work together, but we do have to work together fairly. And as far as DEI goes, I think having equal tariffs, or tariffs that are more favorable, because right now they were not at all favorable to the U.S., to have them more favorable to the U.S. is not a bad thing. It's time the U.S. takes care of its people. And this is something that hasn't been happening, and it's time. So I think that I tend to, I'm okay with the tariff situation and how it's going to go. And I've seen how things work because I've lived abroad, so I do know how tariffs work. So anyway, shop locally wherever you live and take care of your people wherever you live. I mean, I love people from all over the planet. I am a U.S. citizen and a Swiss citizen, and of course those are my favorite places. And because I was born in the U.S., it is my favorite country. But I'm sure your country is also great if you're in a different country, and I'm sure you love your country equally. So let's take care of our countries together and make the planet a better place. And yes, clean drinking water is so crucial. We need to work on that. And sadly, the people running our country, the Democrats and Republicans, they have chosen to take payouts rather than take care of our people, and that's about to change. I'm working hard to bring that change because I'm a U.S. citizen and I care about my U.S. citizen brothers and sisters. I care about you all. And that is a civilized way. So, yeah. I don't know if it was a completely civilized conversation, but it was quite interesting nonetheless. Thank you, Ronnie, for being a part. And yeah, it was interesting. And I wish us both good luck in our endeavors to make our country a better place. Thank you. And as far as anything else goes, I guess that's about it. I did have other visitors, but they couldn't get on. Excuse me. So I'm going to say goodbye. If you want to find out more about me, I am Susan4USA.com. That's my website, Susan, the number 4, USA.com. You can find out more about me there. From there, too, you can get to my Twitter account, my Instagram, my this Facebook page, and YouTube. And I'm also on YouTube and LinkedIn. And if you want to leave a comment, you can. If you want to like and subscribe to my pages, you can. And that's about it for now. So thanks for stopping by. Live civilized. Go to the good. Leave the world a bit better. Bye for now.